we're going to do that 5 shortcut again today because we don't have those 4s memorized and I didn't have a catchy jingle for the 4s. So, we still know our 5s. Who can tell me what 5 times 4 is? Mr. Keegan.
20.
20. And so they said, we're talking about legs on horses. That was kind of like my example, right? And we know that every horse has 4 legs, unless they're like a special horse that's got different needs. But these horses all have 4 legs. So to find how many are on 6 horses, we can think right off the bat that 5 times 4 is 20. And then 4 more than that would be 24. So 6 groups of 4 equals
24.
Very good. I want you guys to do this next one on your math boards. These ones are all quadrilaterals like Emerson was talking about. Quadrilaterals just means that they're shaped with 4 sides. It says, how many sides are in 8 quadrilaterals? First, you're going to start with that same thing, that 5 groups of 4, which everybody knows is
20.
because we already found it. And then I want you to keep doing your 4s count bys to figure out how many are in 8. Jot those count bys down on your math board. Landon, can you tell me what my next count by is? What's 4 more than 20? 24. What's the next group of 4? Hendrix? 4 more than 24? 28. I love, he's using the squares on his math board. That's a smart tool to use. And my last one, 4 more than 28. Brielle? 32. Bingo, which means that 8 groups of 4 equals
32.
32. Very good. Please erase. We can also use our 4s to keep reviewing that area stuff. So this next problem, well, the next 2 problems actually, are about those area models. So I can't remember, was anybody gone yesterday during math time? Olivia? So yesterday we learned all about area, and I can help get you caught up a little bit more after, but essentially, area is the space inside of objects. So everybody, we got to get really good at this one. So ready? Area, the space inside. For the space inside, we multiply. Which means we're trying to figure out how many square units or how many squares will fill a shape. And instead of counting every single one of these squares, because that would take a long time, we're just going to multiply that this is a 7 by 4 shape, and that will tell us how many squares there are. Kind of like an array. So, in this one, it's using the quick 5s trick by shading that top row of 5 since we don't have our 4s memorized yet. So remind me, Gus.
Yes.
What is 5 times 4? Tell me when I drop my hand. 5 times 4, 5 times 4, we're thinking of it. We did it twice, what was that?
20.
So I know that the shaded spot is already 20 square units. And then what's left in the white spot is a 2 by 4. So think about that one in your brains. When I drop my wait time hand, you can tell me what 2 times 4 would be.
8.
Woohoo! So I know that the top chunk is 20, the bottom chunk is 8. What would my total area be?
28.
Yeah, go ahead and say it.
28.
Who remembers for a class point with GTA? Who remembers my fancy label for area? And this is new for you, Olivia, since you were gone. But everybody else, area has a fancy label. It has to do with the shape that fills these. What is it, Madison? Square units. That's a point for you guys. What do you say?
Oh, yeah.
So instead of just saying 28, we're going to say 28 square units. Now, they have the word square units written out over here, so I could write that, but I also taught you a shortcut for that. Does anybody remember the shortcut for square units? The abbreviated version. River?
SQUN.
SQUN. That just earned us another point. What do you say?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank goodness you guys are catching back up to me. Let's get going, okay? Now I gotta read their problems. We already kind of knew what to do with the picture, so let's see if we can follow their directions. Numero tres. Find the area of the large rectangle by finding the areas of the two small rectangles and adding them. Well, guess what? Our first small rectangle was the shaded part, and we said that was
20.
our second small rectangle was the white part, which was
8.
and you already added them and got our area, which is
28 square units.
now I have a hunch. That really what they wanted to test our brains with was seeing if we remembered how to write that equation with the hug marks. So that is what I want you to try right now. I want you to go ahead and write that equation that would explain the top shape plus the bottom shape equals this area. Go ahead. That's going to be on your slides today, online friends. All right, so here's the sneaky part. They showed us this 7 on the side. It's the height of the entire rectangle. We'll get there. But for this first bit, they just want to know our two smaller ones, which is why we broke it into our two chunks. Remember? Anybody remember for a point the fancy name for those symbols? Those hug marks that start with a P. These hug marks just group things. So we've got the first small rectangle and the second small rectangle, and they're grouped off with
Parentheses.
parentheses. Oh, there was like an echo in the room. You left out there. What do you say?
Oh, yeah.
So my parentheses group, my top rectangle. Plus. This shaded rectangle, Dax, would you count for me? It's a what by what? Let's start on the side. It's a 5 by 4. Bingo. So that's what I'm going to put in this first group. And everybody double check yours. The first shaded part is a 5 by 4.
And
So
it's
in your hug marks, Allie, go
2,
ahead and
4.
look at yours. In your hug marks, you're going to have a 5 by 4.
And then the
because
next one
that's
is a 2.
representing the top part.
4.
Right? I'm looking for a mathematician with GTA now to tell me how can I represent just this bottom part that's not shaded. Now be careful because they didn't put this number, but we can count that. And since it's a rectangle, we know that this number kind of carries down, right? What would be my multiplication for the second one, Ellie?
4 times 5.
It's a this by this. What's the white one going to be?
2 times 3.
2 times
4.
Bingo, she got it. It's a 2 by 4. So make sure that your parentheses have that. And then, because you guys already did it in the beginning, you already added those up and got our total of everybody. 28.
Square units.
Oh, there it is. Now here's the next bit. Don't erase yet. Don't erase yet. Because they also want us to find the area of the large rectangle by multiplying the number of total rows by the number of square units in each row, which is the same thing as the number of,
28. 5
not rows, but
columns.
columns. So they're just saying, hey, they put a 5 and a 2 here because the shaded spot has 5 and the white spot has 2, but this is where the 7 comes in. This little symbol is a bracket that shows you this 7 is talking about the whole stretched out shape. Do you guys see that? What does the bracket stand for?
The whole stretched out space.
The whole stretched out shape. What's it stand for?
The whole stretched out space.
So that means that this whole shape is a 7 by 4. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Then let's go ahead and represent that. The area of the large rectangle is 7 groups of 4.
Which is
Looking at your boards, if you have them, or just thinking about what we know from before,
20.
who can tell me what 7 groups of 4 would be equal to? Well, I love it. I see people looking at those squares on their math boards and marking them off again. I see some people peeking up here at their 4s and counting 7 groups down. All smart things to do. Miss Jade, what do you think? 7 groups of 4 is 28
Square units.
square units. Alright, my friends, that was very good work. You may go ahead and erase. Alright, 3rd grade. We don't only use the quick 5s when we're doing those pictures and groups of things. We can split them up to multiplications that we know anytime we see a multiplication problem. So, in this particular equal shares problem, they're doing 7 times 4. They went ahead and left a gap in their equal shares to show 5 groups of 4 and 2 groups of 4 because they knew that that was the same as a total of 7 groups of 4. It's just the 5 and the 2, right? So just like we did on our area problem before, it's literally the same numbers. 5 times 4 was 20, and usually means plus. 2 times 4 is 8, and that tells us that 7 times 4 is the same thing as 28. I wanted to make sure that you knew that trick, and that's just called using multiplications that you know. Break it into the ones that you know. We're really, really good at our 2s. We're really, really good at our 5s, and we're actually, you guys are crushing your 3s because of that Jingle Bells song, right? So I want all of you to join me with this one. Okay, heads up.
Heads up, heads up, heads up.
I would like you to do numero 7.
Número 7.
It says find the product of 5 times 4. First of all, for a class point, who can remind me what product means? If I'm asking you to find the product, what do I need, Emerson?
Enter. The total or the answer.
For what type of problem?
Multiplication.
The total on a multiplication. What do you say?
Oh yeah.
Whew, awesome. Who's got 5 times 4? We've done that one a few times here. It's a quick 5s trick. We know that one. Maddie. 5 times 4 is 20. Who knows 4 times 4? Maybe you already have it circled on your board. Maybe you're just getting good at those 4s. Kevin? 16. So if I wanted to look at this, it says use your answers to exercise 7 and 8. And guys, in math, sometimes they just use that strange language, but exercises 7 and 8, they weren't working out. They're talking about the problems that you did. Yeah, I guess you were working your brain out, kind of. But whenever they say that, they just mean problems 7 and 8. So use these 2 answers to find the product 9 times 4. Well, if you notice, we had a 5 times 4 and a 4 times 4. So if I put those together, should we be able to get this?
That's 9.
Uh-huh. Please add those up, and you will be able to get 9 times 4. When you have that answer, put your hand on your head. Show me that you're ready to move on. You're adding 20 plus 16. Not flirting it. You're putting your hand on your head when you have it. You're adding 20 plus 16. Ooh, I got a few friends who've got it. Got a couple more. Class. 20 plus 16 is?
36.
36. Guess what? That's what 9 times 4 is. If you look at that first number, the 4 stayed the same. What did it do?
4
Stayed the same. So then I took the 9 and it was broken up into a 5 and a 4. Would you agree that 5 plus 4 gives me 9? That's how that distributive property works. And the reason that we can write it out as a distributive equation like this. 9 times 4 is the same thing as splitting this up into a 5 by 4, because the 4 stays the same, plus a 4 by 4, because the 4 stayed the same again. And these 2 numbers added together gave me my
9.
That's the reason those work. So it's a lot easier to see when we shade our squares and our rectangles. But the real reason is we're taking that 9 and we're breaking it into those 2 different chunks. Who can tell me what property that is for a point to take the lead for this morning? When I take that big number and I split it up, it starts with a D. What property is that? Oh, I might have stumped you. Rylan?
Maybe distraction.
Well, it's not distraction. Do you want to phone a friend? I'll give you one more guess.
Destruction.
Oh, you're so close. It's not distraction. It's the distributive property. Say that for me. Distributive property. We're skipping Puzzle Penguin for today because I want you guys to have enough time for your homework. Okay? Today's homework is remembering 1-12. What is it?
1-12.
Both sides or just one side?
One side. Remembering.
Just remembering. Best luck, friends.